my husband was getting very involved. And so he started coming to the writers' conference with me. And that's when we got to know Suzanne too, and at Mount Hermon. And we were even teaching some classes by then. And while we were, and you know, it's like this, at a table where you're eating, and there's all kinds of people there, editors, writers, and we're all together. They're talking. And my husband is listening. And that's a clue. You know, I told you, you know, right from the get-go that writers' conferences are where it is. And no matter how the field has changed in writing, I still think that's a beautiful place for you to go whenever you can to a writers' conference, because the ideas buzz. The things that you never thought you might be able to do happen there. And we were sitting at a table like that and listening. My husband was listening to an editor talk about the fact that they needed some new devotional books for kids, that they didn't have anything new. They talked about some old writers that they'd had for a long time. Of course, ours now are the old ones, and they probably need new ones now. But he said, and we never would have ever considered writing devotional books for kids, except from hearing that. And you become a servant writer in that you try to find out what people need. So you write to what it is that someone else needs that maybe you can possibly do, you didn't think you could, but you try it. So we sent, after we went home, we sent that editor a proposal for a writer's devotional. She wrote back to us and says, well, it just so happens that we need that we need devotionals for kids. Yes, we knew that. And so but then after we actually were writing the book, it became bigger than we thought, and they decided to make it into 2 devotional books. One for, we used some of them for the older kids, Devotions with a Difference, which were for high school students, and these were for elementary students. And we got these questions when we came back from that writers' conference. My husband said, let's go to the kids. We're teaching, this one's called Questions I'd Like to Ask. Let's go to the kids that we're working with in the youth club, in the kids club, in the Sunday school classes, and see what kind of questions they're asking. And so we just handed out papers that if you were going to ask God a question, what would you ask Him? If you were going to ask your Sunday school teacher a question, what would you ask them? If you were going to ask your teacher a question, if you were going to ask your mom or your dad a question, what would you ask them? What is the main thing that you're concerned about? And so all of the devotionals in this were taken from actual questions the kids asked. All of these different ones. So some of them are very practical, some are very spiritual, and it's a wide variety. And then with the teen devotional, we divided it up into topics, everything from anger and atheism and bitterness and success and trauma and trials and zeal. It was A to Z, all of the different topics. Now, Devotions with a Difference, a new approach, that title worked for a little while, but we both fussed about it, that it really didn't zing, you know, for teens. And I'm not sure that this one was the best zinger, but it did upgrade it some because it was republished a few years later as Winners and Losers in Quiet Times Between Teens and God, and it did much better under this title. So again, we had a reissue of a book, but it all started by listening around a table at an editor at the kinds of things that they needed.